you are watching this live launch now, or whether you're going to watch this later, this is definitely an interview of our next author that you're going to want to listen to and share with others about. So today we have the launch of an amazing book called Nobody Can Save Me. Quite a out there title, but when you start reading this, it's all about redefining mental health with hope and action. So we have with us the amazing Matt Runnalls today, and he is the author of this book, and he's going to be sharing with us a bit about what's in this book and what was the inspiration behind him writing this book. So welcome this morning, Matt. How are you?
Good, thanks, Susan. I'm quite excited. It's been a journey to get here, and I'm looking forward to seeing the book in as many hands as possible and the feedback that comes with it, and seeing what difference it can make.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like with any book, it's the journey of writing the book, but it's also the journey that you take in going back and reflecting. And I know one of the things you did mention was that this book was something that you wish that you had went back when you were even the age of, I think, 12. Tell me about, first of all, a bit about why this title, for one, and why would this, why this book, why have you written it, and why would have this been sort of like the book you needed? So I know there's lots of questions in there, but I'd like you to just to roll and share with everyone today, why you've written this book and why the title as well.
Yeah, so Nobody Can Save Me. Obviously, it's a very provocative title. I've gone on a journey with mental health and suicidal ideation for a very long time. Unfortunately, I've lost a lot of mates to mind and behavioral health challenges. And for me, one of the consistent things that I see in the world that I guess makes me grit my teeth is people's, lack of understanding of just the strength that we can be to ourselves, rather than being so reliant on the people around us and the best supports in the world. It's about encouraging people to tap back into who they are and working on the strengths of who we are when we tap into that, the uniqueness of who we are. And I know that if we can encourage more people in this world to do just that, we're going to see a lot more people be able to overcome any adversity or challenges or mind and behavioral health challenges that they experience and live the healthy, happy, and fulfilling life like they truly deserve, the same way that I have. For many years, I believed that it wasn't possible, and I thought that my life was going to be ended by these two hands. And, I sit in this chair now, having penned a book with the same two hands, knowing that it's possible. And I want as many people to understand that they too, no matter what they're experiencing, is helping carve them into the most beautiful and resilient person possible. And I know that the world's going to be a better place if we can help people to understand that they can save their own life the same way that I have. I've had lots of great support around me. There's no denying that support and connection and belonging and love is instrumental to our well-being. But I guess what we want to do is look at how we can help ourselves and keep the ball rolling and get ourselves up the right end of the mental health continuum by doing things for ourselves every day and prioritizing the number one. And I'm a big believer that the number one is ourselves.
Yeah, that is an amazing wrap up and a really great way of explaining it, because what you say is that it's good to have all this support, but we know there's so many people that have family and friends and professionals around them to support them, and they still choose to end their own life. And the one person that can save you, as you talk about, is really just having yourself to have some tools and techniques. And I know that this book is packed with your story, but also lots of ways to be able to help the individual learn to be able to really be their own, support and be their own best friend, essentially, and get through it and become the amazing human being that we're all entitled to be. Share with us a little bit. I know there's lots, and you've been really, generous and raw in your stories that you've shared in the book. But tell us a little bit about your journey, such a young age that you said, I wish I had this book when I was younger. tell us a bit about your journey and struggle, because some people, you know, parents alike, or even the individual, don't realize sometimes that they're going through this stuff and they're just trying to figure it out themselves. And even if they've had a smidgen of an idea of not being able to cope, you know, this book might give them some understanding. But tell us a little bit about your journey. I know it was a long one, but a little bit of a snippet of how people can understand a bit about you and the difference between a professional or someone that's gone and learnt how to do this versus someone that's been through it themselves and now is sharing with others. So tell us a bit about your past and about you, Matt.
Yeah, well, I think as a young kid, we all, especially as a young male, we all grow up in this world where society paints this picture for us that if you're struggling, you go in and to a doctor and you get help and you get support and you get medicated and you get a diagnosis. And for me, I really want to change that. I really want to change that because that's what I did. And not that I'm against professional services, not that I'm against medication, not that I'm against people going down that path. But like I said, I grew up with the most supportive, compassionate, caring family possible. I had all of the best supports around me, yet I continued to struggle. And there is that misconception with depression, I believe, when something in our life is going wrong and we're feeling sad. However, for me, it was everything in my life is going right, and I'm still continuing to feel consistently sad. And so when you start to feel these things as a young kid and you don't know what to do about them, and when you don't know the problem itself, it's very hard to come up with a solution for the problem. So for me, you know, I went on a pretty tough journey for many, many years. As I said, I was bathing in a bathtub of bad limiting beliefs that were handed to me through different episodes of my life, through physical and emotional abuse as a plumber from my bosses, being told and called things at school from teachers that I guess brandished me and put me in a box that I didn't belong in. And I started to believe these things to be true. That's how powerful the mind is. And that's what the book's about, is creating a new narrative for ourselves that is true rather than believing one that's not. So for me, I walked in, thought I was doing the right thing, getting the help and support that society says you should, only to feel worse, only to go through all of the horrific challenges that medications provided me. And again, to anyone listening, that's my journey. I'm not trying to tell people not to go down the same path that I did, but however, what my journey is and what this book's about is helping people to understand all of the different things that society can provide us so that we can get to a place of wellness. I'm a massive, massive advocate for it. There's a two-set menu for help and support in this country, and it's therapy and medication. What my goal is to help people understand that the set menu for help and support and getting through emotional challenges and unbearable amounts of emotional pain should be 1,000 things long. And so we provide a lot of those tools and skills in the book. And that's why I wish I had had this book when I was 12 years old. And the 10 mates that I've lost now to suicide, I wish they had have been able to read this book too, because it would have provided them with some insight into some alternative measures and methods that they could have tapped into so that they can realize the strength of who they are and get themselves back up the right end of their own mental health journey. So, you know, from a lived experience to a psychologist to whatever it is, I mean, I value and appreciate every single person that works on these hard, sharp, but beautiful edges of love and life. We need every single one of them. But I think it's really important that we start having advocates that share the success, that share the stories of hope, that share the stories of healing and recovery, rather than having advocates and people continue to mention mental health as suffering. I believe that suffering is a choice, and I was choosing to suffer for many, many years. And suffering to me is dying in installments, accepting torturous defeat. And so the moment that I started to change that mindset from, you know, I knew what it was like to give up. I've tried to end my life 4 times. I wonder what would happen if I didn't. And so when I flipped that mindset on its head, I started to go about this journey and finding the tools, tips, and strategies from world-renowned advocates and change agents and leaders right around the world that have helped me accumulate this skill set that I want to share with as many people as humanly possible, because it's not revolutionary. It's been around for years, but unfortunately, the world we're in tries to hide and they try and hide and suppress these things so that people don't understand what they are. And we, as I said, society paints a pretty awful picture that therapy and medication is the only way to get ourselves well. And I'm here to tell people that that's wrong and that's not true at all. So, this is what the book's about. And I wish people as young as 12, like I, had I had a better understanding of what mental health was, because my life would have looked a lot differently. And it would have, more importantly to that, it would have looked a lot differently for the mates that I can't have share in the beauty of the book today. So, which hurts. I mean, you're getting glassy-eyed now because they're not here to talk about it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, this book is something that can also educate not only the person, but educate the supporters that are around, maybe some children or some, teens, young adults at large that have kind of just pushed things aside and they're not really living, even though they're living. It's what I love about what you share is not only, and it's not just about, your story, like you said, there's many stories, and sometimes there may not even be an incident that has the person understand why they feel the way they do. They just know they do, and they don't want to feel that way anymore, and they don't know how they can not feel this way. And sometimes it's the ones, like you said, that have got that supporting family and those friends that sometimes find it even harder, because they go, I've got friends, I've got support, I'm happy, I've got I've got all these things. Why am I still not happy? I should be happy. And I think that's sometimes where people struggle even more, because they say, but hang on a minute, I'm not living on the streets, or I'm not, I've got this supporting family that are there for me. Why am I still sad? Why am I still not coping in life? And I think that what you share is tools and techniques, even if someone got one or two things out of it, maybe they weren't as, severe as yourself. Maybe they can catch it when it's not so, so dark enough that they want to check out. And I think that the tools and techniques can help even with the everyday person to lift themselves, to maybe take on a tool and technique that can make their life, even if they're happy, make it even happier. So I think that it's a great read, and we're really privileged to be that you've selected us as your publisher to trust in sharing this story. And I really feel that there's so much in this, and I know you, Matt, help in so many ways, and I know that there's so much that people will also learn. You speak, you help children in many different ways. Tell us a little bit about that, because we're not going to tell them everything in the book, because really they've got to buy the book. And just so that people know, the link's going to be here. Buy it for yourself, buy it for a friend, buy it and just have it there for if anyone needs something to read. Matt is launching it, so you get a copy before it hits the bookstores, before it's on Amazon and all the bookstores. Matt's got a limited amount of copies that he has in his hands that he is selling. The link will be there for you to buy it. For you, like I said, or for anyone, have a copy in your hand, have it there ready, and just have a read, because you never know what you might learn that you might need for somebody along the way, and say, hey, I read this book and I learned this from somebody. So we all need to equip ourselves, whether we're a family, a friend, a parent, a grandparent. We've got to have some of these tools ourselves for when we may need to share them, or to, help ourselves or others, So tell us just briefly before, we wrap up, a little bit about, not only your journey from writing this book, which is great, but what else do you do, Matt, that helps others besides, this great journey of sharing this book?
Yeah, so I'm very fortunate in many ways. I sat up the back of one of the funerals of one of my mates, and it was the moment that I decided that enough was enough and something had to change. And instead of pointing my finger and blaming everybody else for the situation in which I found myself, I decided to take onus and realized that I was living on some pretty important experiences that I'd been through. So I've just gone on a journey over the last 10 years as a mental health advocate in building an organization called Mindful Oz, which is a non-for-profit charity here in Australia that works in high-risk areas of Australia, regional and rural Victoria and parts of Australia. It works in youth with children, which is a big passion area of mine. And I work in your blue collar, for lack of a better word, industries with our men, with our farming, agriculture, our construction, our sporting clubs, places in which it's not spoken about. So, I've developed a lot of programs right now that are existent and sustainable with Mindful Oz, which is a very beautiful thing. We work with, as I said, work with kids is probably one of my favorite part. And that's, again, just wanting to change the narrative for these young kids so that they grow up in a better world. I know that I'm a big believer that something better exists than the world that we're living in right now. And that's not to criticize what's happening in the world, or maybe it is, but I think we can do a lot more. We can always be a lot more. And there's, 1,440 minutes in a day. There's 1,440 opportunities we all have to make this world a better place. And so, I'm going on that journey and continue to dedicate my life to the cause and making sure that I don't sit up the back of any more funerals, and hopefully prevent a lot more for a number of people throughout this country. So, as I've always said, I was just one kid that never thought that anybody would listen to me tell my story. I was just one kid that thought that if I tell my story, I'd be mocked, shamed, and judged. And it turns out that, I've told my story to over 2 million people right around the world. And there's in every auditorium or audience I have in front of me, there's a good portion of them that feel exactly the same way as I once did, and are looking for the exact same tools that this book possesses. So, if that's a lesson for anyone, there is absolutely nobody in this world we cannot love once they've shared their story. Unfortunately, we have a lot of people that don't share their story and hide away from the truth of who they really are, and it prevents them from being the best person that they can be. But it also, they'll never be loved the way they truly deserve unless they learn to love themselves a little bit more. So my hope is that this book provides that our services continue to provide that, so that people can grow up and live the healthy, happy, and fulfilling life just as they truly deserve, the same way I deserve, the same way you deserve, Susan, and we can all go about living in a better world, because I believe in it.
Absolutely, 100% agree. We definitely can create a better world, and we can help people be able to give tools and techniques that that they may not be exposed to. It's not that they don't want to take these on, that maybe they didn't know about them. So this book will definitely not just change lives, it will save lives. And I really, truly believe that, you sharing this story as others do, is how we do change the world. It's why I do what I do in helping people get their story into a book, so we can get it into as many hands as possible. So jump on the link, grab a copy today for yourself, for a friend, just to have their, not only can you, learn some tools and techniques, but you could possibly share this book with somebody else and save their life or change their life for the better. So thanks so much, Matt. Is there anything you want to wrap up with other than grab your book? I think, sorry, I think that, I think everyone needs this book in their hands. I'm just going to show it here. You've got your copy. So, grab this book now, and before you can get it on any bookstore. Thanks so much for joining me today, Matt.
Thanks, Susan. I appreciate it. And thank you to the Dean Publishing team. And I guess everybody who's been on this journey with me. I mean, it hasn't been easy for my friends, my family, and the people around me, but we're here, we're doing it. And hopefully by doing it, we're going to change the world for somebody else out there. And that's really important to me. So thank you to the team for allowing me to share my book with the world.
Thanks so much. Bye for now.